and training Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, our esteemed leader in the sector. We are truly privileged to have you with us this morning. The Deputy Minister of Employment and Labor, Judith Shabalala, we sincerely appreciate your presence. The President of COSATU, Deputy President of COSATU, Comrade Mike Shingang, where are you sitting? He was supposed to be. He's on my right, he should be on my left, okay, but is this just my right hand? It's not the right. Comrade Deputy President, we appreciate that you are with us here. The Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lisufi, will be joining us very soon, together with the Mayor of Johannesburg, Dada Morero. They are caught up in a quick meeting. They will be joining us this morning. The Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University, of the great University of Johannesburg, Professor Letlhakwe Mpedi. We are excited to have you here this morning, as well as our Executive Dean of the College of Business and Economics, Professor Tankiso Muloi. Thank you very much. The DG, Ms. J.K. Modisane, we are also privileged and happy to be that you have joined us, and a number of esteemed leaders from the labor movement, from the federations, from the business sector, and everyone else. You are all welcomed to the second Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture. I think that it is indeed, we must begin this moment by doing two things. We are going to rise, and I think we must observe a moment of silence in honor of the Elijah Barayi, but most importantly also to honor Meg Gertrude Shope, a principled and a pioneering woman and a fearless voice of justice, but also to do so to sing the national anthem to officially open the program. I know that the choir of the UJ is here. They will be leading us in singing the national anthem. But before we sing the national anthem, I'd just like all of us to stand and observe a moment of silence. Thank you very much. We may remain standing for the singing of the national anthem.
United we shall stand.
Horimpalele hoye kibita pakela. Horimpalele hoye kibita pakela. Kifike kiri khosi dumela yele. Ahele utlankwa lisinyane. Ahele utlankwa lisinyane. Horimpalele hoye kibita pakela. Horimpalele hoye kibita pakela. Kifite kiri khosi dumela yele. Ahele utlankwa lisinyane. Ahele utlankwa lisinyane. Horimpalele hoye kibita pakela. Horimpalele hoye kibita pakela. Kifite kiri khosi dumela yele. Ahele utlankwa lisinyane. 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 I think they deserve another round of applause. The choir from the University of Johannesburg. Now that we have officially opened the program, I think it is important that we must therefore allow ourselves to be officially welcomed. But I did not, I know that I omitted to welcome those who are joining us online. I hope that they can hear us, and we did appreciate your presence online. Your online presence is also important. Now we are going to welcome the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Johannesburg, Professor Ditlhokwa Mpedi, to deliver his official welcome and opening remarks to this event. He needs no introduction, but he is my boss, so therefore I need to introduce him proper so that I can come back to work tomorrow. Professor Mpedi is a renowned scholar and academic leader. He obtained his B. Juris as well as his LLB in 1998 from Vista University, Mamelodi. In 2001, he completed his LLM here at the it was then Rau, Professor Mpedi, but he came back to complete his LLD in mercantile law here at the University of Johannesburg. Professor Mpedi has published extensively on social security and labor law in South Africa and Southern Africa, as well as the continent at large. He's the author of several books and is well a respected NRF-rated scholar. Ladies and gentlemen, please put together our hands for our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mpedi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Program Director. You forgot to introduce yourself, Program Director. Our Program Director needs no introduction, is Professor Mandla Khadebe, ladies and gentlemen. Minister of Employment and Labor, Ms. Noma Nkosazana-Meth. Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, Mr. Kwede Mantashe. Minister of the Department of Higher Education and Training, and my boss, Dr. Nobuhle Nkavani. Deputy Minister, Department of Employment and Labor, Judith Nemadzinga Chabalala. Allow me also to acknowledge our Director General of the Department of Employment and Labor, Mudisani, other officials who are present here. But before I do that, I saw our Premier enter. Let me acknowledge our Premier, Mr. Panyaza Lisuvi. Welcome, sir. Allow me also to welcome Mr. Dada Morero, Executive Mayor of Johannesburg. Already earlier, our program director indicated that he will be joining us. Other officials who are present here, the family of Mr. Elijah Barayi, UJ staff, Senate, members of council, students, and colleagues. On behalf of the council and staff and students, it is a great honor to welcome you all to the great University of Johannesburg, Auckland Park Kingsway campus. Please also allow me to acknowledge our Executive Dean, Professor Tankiso Muloi. I thought the most youthful-looking person right today. Everybody's acknowledging your youthful looks. Please also allow me to acknowledge Professor Fiona Trigina and, of course, Professor Mandla Khadebe. I almost made a mistake of missing you, colleagues. It is a privilege for UJ to host the second Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture in commemoration of the life and legacy of one of South Africa's most influential labor leaders and the first president of Congress of South African Trade Unions. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second installment of the Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture series, following the inaugural lecture that was delivered by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa at our Soweto campus in May 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, this lecture series seeks to honor the extraordinary contributions of Mr. Barayi to the liberation struggle and labor rights. Patse, Justice Pitso once wrote, open quote, under the collective leadership of Barayi, the South African working class understood the dialectical relationship between the national and the class struggle. They understood well the interconnectedness between a struggle to attain rights, rights to organize at the workplace, to the rights that can fully be exercised in a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic society, close quote. The series is a platform to connect Mr. Barayi's enduring contributions to the labor movement and social justice, while stimulating critical conversations on contemporary issues, ladies and gentlemen. This is particularly important in an era defined by the rapidly evolving nature of work and diverse employment forms. We find ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, in a time of significant technological advancement, where digitalization has changed the nature of work in various industries. The gig economy, remote work, the rise of artificial intelligence and automation have changed the way we work today and stand in stark contrast to the years Mr. Barayi was actively advocating for workers' rights. We are called, ladies and gentlemen, to ask what the implications of the future of work mean as we undergo this transformation. While the context may be different, the need to advocate for workers' rights and social justice certainly remains. In fact, in some instances, these changes have increased the challenges faced by workers and thus demonstrate the significance of a dialogue that amplifies issues of workers' rights even more. The first Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture provided a historical background of Mr. Barayi's life and work. The second and subsequent lectures seek to continue in this vein, while honing in on more specific aspects of his work. This year, ladies and gentlemen, UJ celebrates its 20th anniversary. Over the last 20 years, UJ has developed a rich history of engagement with socio-economic development, labor studies, and social transformation. We are proud to be a university that upholds our workers' rights to collective bargaining through our continued partnership with and recognition of our labor stakeholder, the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union, NEHAU. We are also proud of our strong multidisciplinary platforms, including the Faculty of Humanities, College of Business and Economics, and Faculty of Law. Their work, ladies and gentlemen, provides a space for continued academic and societal dialogue on the issues central to Barayi's legacy. We are particularly honored to continue to contribute to social change, academic leadership, and dialogue on the future of labor in South Africa through the lens of societal impact. UJ, ladies and gentlemen, is committed to ensuring that this lecture series transcends ideological divides and encourages inclusivity. With that said, we are honored to have the Honorable Minister Meth introduce the lecture. We look forward to hearing your lecture, Honorable Minister Mantashe. We have no doubt that your lecture will not only honor Mr. Barayi's legacy, but will also serve as an educational initiative and ignite further dialogue on workers' rights and social justice. Thank you, and once again, welcome to the great University of Johannesburg.
Thank you very much, VC, and I think it deserves another round of applause for leading South Africa's great university to even greater heights. Now that we have all been welcomed, let us now take this opportunity to be welcomed to the province of Gauteng. I know that, Premier, you have now settled. You are ready to welcome all of us. A man who needs absolutely no introduction, #NasiSpani. A leader who truly committed himself to education, to service delivery, and the people of this province. Without any waste of time, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Premier Panyaza Lesufi.
Thank you so much, Prof. Truly appreciate it. I want to acknowledge our leadership here, represented here by Minister Meth and our keynote address, Minister Kwede Mantashe. I don't want to say Samson Minister. I want to respect that name. Minister Mantashe was the executive mayor in one municipality for 3 hours, and he sold land that today we have it as a Eastern Mall. So he's a man of action. Thank you so much, Minister, for agreeing to be part of this discussion. Minister Nkabani, thank you so much, Minister. We really appreciate the deputy ministers that are here, the leadership of the university, and the entire academic staff, students and staff that are here. I know the executive mayor is coming. We're coming from the same meeting. You might be aware that there was development last night of Olerato, where police made a major breakthrough. So they were giving us a briefing on the people that are looking for after they brutally killed one of our staff members. So thank you so much for your time. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my task is very simple. On behalf of the people of Gauteng, we want to welcome you all to the second Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture. We're part of this lecture last year, as delivered by His Excellency President Ramaphosa, and we're indeed well honored as the province to continue to host this lecture. But specifically, I want to thank you, Minister of Employment and Labor, Minister Meth, for upholding this noble tradition of honoring the memory of Comrade Elijah Barayi. And within that context, we want to thank the family for accepting this offer and continuing to support us as we go through this route. Minister, the reason why I want to thank you is because, you know, sometimes when there are political changes in a certain department, there are certain tasks that are shelved on the basis that they don't originate from the current political leadership. And for you to take this route to continue with this lecture is indeed an honor, and as a province, we are proud to participate and be part of this process. Comrade Elijah Barayi represents an era of leadership that was needed at that time. Fearless, sober, tough, but most importantly, understanding the needs of our people and the desire to liberate them. So to have a person of Minister Kwede Mantashe, who was part of that labor force and labor formation, is indeed an honor. And we are looking forward, to Minister, to our input. But we want to make it very clear and strong, Minister. We are looking for ideas. We are looking for purpose. We are looking for direction. And in doing so, cowardice is not an option. Selling out is not an option. We need to be firm. We need to be direct. We need to stand where we, people like Elijah Barayi, stood for the total emancipation of our people. There might be compromises, but selling out is not a compromise. We need to be radical on issues that we stand for and not bend backward purely because there are other people that believe they can take advantage of the political situation that we have. We have to be strong on transformation. We have to be strong on the issues that we believe on the global stage. And we have also be strong on what we believe will be the right way to honor Comrade Elijah Barayi. To his family and the ministry, thank you once more for allowing us to honor you. And to the university, thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this important lecture in your premises. In you, we believe it's a partnership that works. Thank you so much. You are all welcome.
Thank you very much, Premier. Another round of applause for our Premier. He respects authority in Amatabatala. He's not calling you're not calling him SG. You don't mention that name. We're also not going to mention Andrek, anything next to that name. We'll stick to Premier Lissufi. Thank you very much, Premier. Without any waste of time, let's invite to the podium the people who continue to uphold the legacy that Elijah Barayi left for us on behalf of COSATU and on behalf of the labor federations, on behalf of labor. We are going to invite the first deputy president of COSATU, who's also the president of NEHAU, Comrade Mike Madala Shingange, to give us a message.
Thank you very much, Professor Mandla, the program director, and to the ministers present here, Minister of Labor, Minister of Higher Education, and Minister Samson Kwede-Mantashe, our Premier, the family of Comrade Barayi, our founding president of COSATU, to the leadership of the university and all present here, please receive our greetings from the Federation, but indeed on behalf of my colleagues that are also present here from various federations, as well as our partners in NEDLEC, the communities and the business that are here. For us to gather here, it's not only to honor Comrade Barayi, but is to indeed celebrate and continue to learn the lessons from what he has taught us. To remember a leader, but to honor a revolutionary born in the belly of the apartheid machinery. Elijah Barayi was not merely a figure in our movement, but he was a testament to the unbreakable spirit of the working class and a symbol of defiance forged in the crucible oppression. From his early days in the ANC Youth League to his daring activism with Umkhonto weSizwe, and from the prisons of the apartheid state to the brutal gold mines, Comrade Barayi carried within him a flame that no system of oppression could extinguish. In the hostile built to dehumanize, in the mines disguised to exploit, he rose as a voice of defiance and a builder of unity. His life's work reminds us that oppression is most effectively dismantled not by the privileged, but by those who suffer its sharpest edges. And when COSATU was born in 1985, amidst the fires of mass uprising and the state repression, it was no accident that Elijah Barayi became its first founding president. He personified the living link between the economic struggles and political liberations. Under his leadership, COSATU did not only demand better wages and working conditions, it declared war on the entire ideological and economic structure of apartheid. And we learned from him as the current generation of workers that as we face rising inequality, casualization of labor, corporate greed, and the erosion of hard-won rights of workers, Elijah Barayi's legacy calls on us with clarity that we must stand in defense on the gains hard-won not only by workers and the working class, but by the revolution in its entirety. And indeed, in the words of Premier Panyaza, selling out at this point is not an option. Even if we suffer setbacks here and there, but one thing we can't do is to reverse the gains of apartheid, of the revolution and the defeat that we have handed to the apartheid regime. And if anything, in honor of people like Comrade Elijah Barayi, we have to continue to fight. We learned today that indeed the workplace is a site of struggle, but the struggle must extend beyond the factory gates. As Elijah Barayi taught us, economic justice and political freedom are inseparable. Unity of the working class is is very important and not an option. It is essential, and in Barayi's time, divisions between mines, transport, and textile workers weakened our power, but he fought to build one united federation, and today, in the face of fragmentation and opportunism, we must defend that unity with vigilance. Leadership, as one of the lessons he taught us, must come from those who carry the burden of exploitation. Barayi did not lead from above, but from the trenches, alongside the workers whose lives he sought to transform. We too must remain grounded, accountable, and guided by the lived experiences of the working class. And the struggle is not over. Apartheid economic architecture still lingers in land inequalities, in unemployment, and in corporate monopolies. Our struggle must continue until we achieve the truly socialist, people-centered society envisioned in our Freedom Charter. To honor Comrade Barayi, it is not to enshrine him in nostalgia, but is to draw from his courage and commitment as we confront our own moment of crisis and possibilities. We are going to rise as he did to meet the demands of history we live in today. Aluta. Long live the spirit of Barayi, long live.
Now let's give COSATU another round of applause. Thank you very much for those words. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to get closer to introduce the distinguished speaker for this morning, I would like to welcome to the podium another leader who needs absolutely no introduction. She has served at various levels with distinctions, including in the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, where she held various positions within the Executive Council. Her leadership journey also includes being a councillor, being a speaker, being a mayor in the Eastern Cape or Tambo district, including the Mbizana local municipality. She is the one major reason we are here today to continue celebrating the legacy of Elijah Barayi. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome on stage the Minister of Employment and Labor, Ms. Nkosazana Meth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mandla, Comrade Mandla, who is now a professional. Good morning to you. Is it afternoon now? Morning. Good morning to you, Prof, the Honorable Minister of Minerals and Petroleum Resources, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, Honorable Minister for Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, Honorable Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor, Mkororo Wachiove, Your Royal Highness, Miss Shabalala, Honorable Premier of our great province, Mr. Lusufi, Honorable Executive Mayor Dada, who is to join, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Johannesburg, Prof. Mpedi, the Dean, and the members of the ELG, the members of the deanery at this university, as led by you, Prof. Ntakiso Moloi, COSATU First Deputy President, Mr. Shingange, the General Secretaries and Secretary Generals and Presidents of our union federations. Our NEDLEC is represented and led by you, Executive Director, Mr. Makuku, and all those social partners of NEDLEC. The family, Barayi family, good morning to you. Thank you so much for having borrowed our nation, this greatest son of the soil. The members of the business, professionals who are here, leaders of institutions of our labor market, student movements that are here, ADG, thank you so much for being here. I know you got here very late last night and we've been pushing, having some late nights and sleepless nights in ensuring that some of the issues that you are trying to deal with as a department are successful, including ensuring that where we had a serious problem on the LEP payment of the stipends and also service providers, that is done. So we see your work, even though you are not that tall, but thank you so much for being umtengentong. Comrades and distinguished guests. I must first wish you, Jay, a very happy 20th birthday. It is both a great honor and profound responsibility for us as employment and labor to have made it possible for us today to host this second installment of the Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture, which is an annual lecture. And I want to commit to the family, as you said in the briefing session, you are not sure when we said we will be doing it annually. Now that we are here, we gave you a very positive disappointment because we are not sure about our commitment, but I'm happy that the DG is here. So that regardless, Premier, of changes in the political offices, this commitment of this government through this department shall continue. This lecture is a especially significant one because it takes place in the month of May, the month in which we commemorate workers, which is the Workers' Month across the world. May is not just a page on the calendar, it is a moment when we pause to honor the struggles and sacrifices of working people, the engine of our economy, the backbone of our society, and the heart of our democracy. It It is therefore fitting that during Workers' Month, we reflect on the life and legacy of Elijah Barayi, VC, a giant of our labor movement and a fearless voice for worker rights, justice, and freedom. And it is equally fitting that our keynote speaker today is none other than Minister Gwede Mantashe, a fellow unionist, an activist, and champion of workers. Minister Mantashe is currently serving as the Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources in the Republic of South Africa, but his roots are not in the ministerial offices, they are in the mines, in the union halls, and in the meeting rooms for worker struggles. He is a former General Secretary of the National Union of Mineworkers, NUM, where he played a critical role in the building of NUM into one of the most powerful and respected voices of mine workers across the country. His leadership did not stop there. Minister Mantashe went on to serve as the Secretary General of the African National Congress for 2 terms, from 2007 to 2017. And he is currently in his 2nd term as the African National Congress National Chairperson. He told us in that conference in 2022 that we are buya. And indeed, when he was successfully elected, he reminded us that ndibuyile. His political career has always been grounded in the values and experiences of the labor movement, values that Elijah Barayi personified throughout his life. We remember Elijah Barayi today not just as the first president of COSATU, but as a visionary leader who understood that labor rights are human rights. He began his activism in the 1940s with the ANC Youth League, and he went on to become a founding member of the NUM in 1982. His life was shaped by a dear understanding that the struggle for fair wages, safe working conditions, and union rights could not be separated from the broader fight against apartheid and for human dignity. This memorial lecture is part of an annual tradition initiated by the Department of Employment and Labor, launched in partnership with the University of Johannesburg. Already we have agreed with VC. I was deliberate to say, you must come and sit close to me there so that you can continue to say, how can we extend this partnership between UJ and Department of Employment and Labor? And already we have agreed on many things, including reconceptualization of the lab, including looking at the issues that how we can resolve our issues, in particular on CCMA, using technology. So DG must have a follow-up to ensure that that partnership gets expanded beyond just this annual memorial lecture. On the special milestone, we extend our warmest congratulations to the University of Johannesburg for 2 decades of academic excellence, social impact, and transformation. We are proud to celebrate this moment not only as a tribute to a historic institution, but also as a testament to UJ's continued commitment to advancing knowledge that serves our people. May the next many years to come bring even greater innovation, inclusivity, and leadership in shaping a just and equitable society. This lecture aims to keep alive the memory of Elijah Barayi while engaging with the pressing issues facing workers today. Elijah Barayi fought for dignity in an era of physical toil. Today we must fight to preserve that dignity in digital workplaces where workers are often rendered invisible by algorithm, outsourcing, and casualization. As Barayi reminded us, the factory floor was as much a site of struggle as the streets, and today so too must we see the call centers, warehouses, and digital gig platforms as modern-day battlegrounds for rights and justice. The values of solidarity, democracy, and worker empowerment must continue to guide us. And there is no better person to help us navigate that reflection today than Mr. Gwede Mantashe, a man whose own journey echoes that of Elijah Barayi. Both these men emerged from the mines, rose through the ranks of union leadership, and took their place on the national stage, always rooted in the belief that workers are not just economic units, but human beings deserving of respect, protection, and a voice. So as we gather during Workers' Month, in the spirit of remembrance and rededication, let this lecture be more than a tribute. Let it be a call to action, a call to defend the rights that Barayi helped secure, a call to strengthen unions, a call to ensure that workers remain not at the margins, but at the center of South Africa's democratic project. Comrades and colleagues and friends, please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, a leader forged in the fires of struggle, a son of the labor movement, and a worthy bearer of the torch that Elijah Barayi lit for all of us. And we thank the family for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You see, if we don't say you may be seated, you may stand the whole day. It's one of the biggest problems, Comrade Panyaz. Bomapol, I have salute, unless you say it is, I will also was the whole day. Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Khadem. Mandla, Bungani, Mashwabatu, Washabatu, Ngoma Nempondo Zayo, Undlebe Ndle Zombini, Umafuza Fulele. Oh my gosh. The family of Otutuse, that is Barayi, family Ngule. Are you owner of Barayi? Barayi is a public property. Ningamenzo wenu. Nampa ilizwe ephila. Anamhlutha ngoku ndiyanikhumbuza nje loo nto. Minister of Employment and Labour, Comrade Metz, Minister of Higher Education and Training, Comrade Hlehle, Deputy Minister of Labour, Comrade Judith, Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza, Lusufi, Gogo Bupagam, hoi, nah. We didn't do that. I was disappointed. Vice Chancellor, thank you for hosting us. Professor Mpedi, and all the professors and staff of this university. This university is not 20 years old. Please, I'm appealing to you. If you fragment that history, you are going to give Afrikaners some undue credit of being themselves. It's one university, it was Rand Afrikaans University, it was changed into University of Johannesburg. It's one history. History is not erased. History evolves. You can add new chapters to it. Never try to erase history, because the importance of history is in its original form. So you're not 20 years. Try to tell us exactly how many years are you. You're not 20 years. And actually what you should remember about this university, Prof, I'm still creating. What you must remember about this university, it was a protest university by Afrikaners. That's why it's just across the street from Vets. Afrikaners thought that they were oppressed by the British and opened their own institutions. And we must not undermine that. The fact that more than 60% of the students here in this university wholly depend on NSFAS in itself is history. Now, I'm giving you these facts because one of the things I'm doing is to do some research and understanding developments in society. So this university is old and it must not be cut from 20 years. And the rest of the history is thrown away. That history is important, whether it is the history of repression and separate development, it must be part of that history. It's like us talking about the history of South Africa. We can't start in 1994, and we can't start in 1652. We must start in 1500s during the Cape slave era. I don't know if many people remember that General Almeida was killed by the Khoi in the Cape in 1500s with 65 soldiers, and that history is not told. And that is the strength of indigenous leadership. Let me thank the family of students that is here. I hope they are here. Leadership of organized labor. I'm assuming, Comrade Shingange, that all these federations, there are other federations, are led by the president of COSATU, Comrade Shingange. COSATU always leads the labor movement. People can deny that, but it's reality that you cannot deny. You see? That's it. Leadership of organized business, distinguished guests present here. Allow me to start by expressing my gratitude to the University of Johannesburg for inviting me to deliver this important lecture of a well-rounded liberation movement cadre, Elijah Barayi. Yabona ke Prof Kawusithi Barayi, buza monwabisa uBarayi because uBarayi uyawuthenga ngathi yeah but Barayi nguBarayi. Yeah. Kodwa kwakuthiwa Barayi kabizwayo. Esona ke ba-ridicule abantu, Mr. Barayi, bazandibona kakuhle. Now, let me hasten to state that we're not here to read his biography. He was a selfless activist, but want to reflect on the life he lived. Abanye think that uBarayi was just this president. He worked in Playford gold mine, very old mine in Carltonville. There was some anomaly, Comrade Shingange, in the NUM. The president was from Western Deep Levels and the deputy president was from Playford, neighboring mines. What about the coal miners? Why are they not given space there to deputize or lead? We didn't understand that. Now, we hope that some among us will inspire to act as it did in dealing with day-to-day difficulties. I'm talking about day-to-day difficulties because today, one of the mistakes that we have committed, ministers, which we must correct, was to have power politically and created a passive society. We used a terrible term called deliver. It's a terrible term because if you deliver, you wait and the buggy arrives and deliver. And we never promoted active participation of society in changing the country and changing their lives. And everybody, if you open the social media today, everybody is insulting the ANC. Because I didn't sleep well last night, it's the fault of the ANC. There is a pothole, it's the fault of the ANC. Even if a municipality is governed by an opposition party, it's the fault of the ANC. And that is the price we're paying for creating a passive society that doesn't appreciate that changing society is a function of active citizenry, where citizens put their skin on the fire, burn it, and move on. So, Barayi, I can tell you that Barayi was quite practical in life. One of the things he taught us as a former youth leaguer, he taught us right into our head in the circles of the ANC and everywhere I go. We were known about this thing of motive forces. Start about motive forces because he emphasized this thing of motive forces. Motive forces are those who stand to benefit from change. Motive forces are those who stand to benefit from change. And it doesn't stop there. And he says, it's Africans in particular and blacks in general. That is the degree of repression and oppression that South African society was subjected to. Then it breaks it down. That is where communists question us in the ANC. Is the working class, is the rural peasant, is the middle strata, is aspirant and real capitalists. Then I'm a communist asbuza. No capitalism city. The motive forces. Some of them would not have been business people if there was no change. Then I normally lead young people to the formation of the African Bank, where African entrepreneurs wanted to form a financial institution for Africans in 1964. It took them 11 months to realize that dream. 11 years. Took them 11 years to realize that dream. I normally call years months. You see, I said we were colonized for 342 days. Now, it's years. Now, it took them 11 years because they had this dream. They had this resilience and determination to form an African financial institution, the African Bank. I can tell you, you can check here, we don't bank in African Bank, though it is an African bank. That is what makes us distinct from other races in the country. Everybody support one another. If you go to particular airlines, you can see with the composition of the staff that this airline belongs to these people, and that airline belongs to these people. Tina, we have the African Bank, we don't bank there. That is the point that we must reconnect with. That once we create an animal, we must support that animal and make it work. Now, Barayi, where's motive forces? Siyayazi ukuthi ubeza motive forces are neglected by activists, by cadres, by revolutionaries. They will not impact change. It is not the structure, it is not the ANC itself, it is the ANC. If the cadres, activists, and revolutionaries in the ANC interact and engage the motive forces. Otherwise, this theory of nobody must be left behind will be a theory, will leave everybody behind. Because activists don't engage the motive forces. Those who stand to benefit from change, and those, once they benefit from change, they will have an obligation and a duty to defend the revolution. You will not invite them, because they will defend it as theirs. Mistake we commit is to think that they must be invited to come and defend the revolution. No, we must effect positive changes. Then those changes is going to instill in them the desire, the commitment, and the duty to defend the revolution, because it is theirs. Now, we're talking about Barayi. Barayi was born in Kredok. It's a very important town in the Eastern Cape. Half the time we don't talk about many of the people. The other sector of the ANC khona uphuma kwe-Craddock. Baninzi ngababala abantu abasuka eCraddock. It's a very important town. It is also the home of the Craddock Four, who were killed by the police. Barayi is born in that town. It's in the Karoo, south of Middelburg, north of the of Graaff-Reinet, standing there. That is where Elijah Barayi was born. His mother was a domestic worker. His father was a municipal worker. Yeah? Now, he was a domestic worker, umamakhe. Funeka appreciate ukuthi it may happen that she was never at school, but gave birth to Elijah Barayi, who grew up to determine the direction of the world. It's not where you were born, how you were born, how you grew up, that matters. It's how you interact with the world. I can share with you that I'm born of a mother who was never at school a single day, but who was a philosopher, ironically. Never, not one day. Prof zanga phume ku-A or ku-B or ku-1, zangaye. Ilakhi yakhe nje was that wendela lapha ekhaya. Yabona ke, xa wendela lapha ekhaya, ilakhi enkulu leyo kwendela kwaMantashe. Wafika pha kwindoda ethile efundileyo eyayino-standard 3. Bazala thina. uBarayi unjalo ke. Now, you know, one resolution endiyithandayo kwabazali bam, including my mother, is the resolution that their children must have matric. And they didn't want teachers because they said teachers banxila. Mababe zimne-matric bafana noshenxane phaa kwamanye banceda abantu. Because our people don't determine careers on the basis of what the content is. They determine careers on the basis of their lived experience in interacting with professionals. So a professional is not a professional in the institution. A professional is a professional in society. Because the behavior of a professional in society determines the attitude of society towards that profession. Now, and it is this background that makes Barayi to be committed in fighting for worker rights, equality, and freedom for all. He loved freedom, not for himself, but for all. Now, that's a big difference. I want freedom. He loved freedom for people. Now, starting as an activist in the 1940s, young, was born in 1930. In the 40s, he joined the Youth League. You can join the Youth League at age 14. Please tell your kids, they can join the Youth League at age 14. He joined the Youth League very young, very active. I don't know if you remember the 1944 Youth Leaguers. It's a generation that led the country for 5 decades. 1944 to 1994 is 5 decades. It is that generation of youth leaguers that Barayi belonged to. Now, and it is that early involvement in the youth league that developed him into an activist. You see, youth leaguers. You see, today, if fighters now Panyas, he age. First, somebody want to lead on the basis of age. Then you can lead. It's so easy. You don't do anything. You just go to Home Affairs of Man say to birth. Because you're young. Then it's an easy exercise. The difference between our youth today, which believe that Institute Home Affairs is a right to lead, is that Barayi belonged to a youth league generation that appreciated that leadership is about ability to generate ideas. That's why that generation generated the program of action and didn't stop there, sold it to the mother body, and it went to the conference in 1949 and was adopted as the program of the ANC. Barayi belonged to that ANC Youth League generation. And when it was adopted, it was automatic that a smaller NEC at the time, not as big as ours, 8 of them were in that NEC, including providing the Secretary General and the Deputy President. Not because they were young, because they originated ideas sold to the ANC, and therefore everybody knew that for execution and implementation of that program, writers of that program and developers of that program must be part of the leadership structure. And they ended up in the ANC NEC, not on the basis of age, on the basis of participation. Now, I'm making this point because we're missing that Comrade Panyas. That generation, Anton Lebede, Walter Sisulu, Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, that is the generation of youth that was unique in providing ideas, not age, ideas. Now, so, in contrast to those who use age or date of birth, Barayi generation in the National Executive ANC was underpinned by the program of action. And that's why they were part of it. Now, in this participation, youth politics made him a firebrand. There were people abafundileyo pha, and they tried speech for Barayi like Esam, speech. Then go to Magafunde's speech. Say what he wants to say. Barayi. That was Barayi for you. Dead. So challenge in border. Pelili ixesha lakho. Maphela mapas. Ayibhalwanga lona. Uyayithetha, is a firebrand. He's a firebrand because he was a product of a particular era. Yes. I want to be developed with come. No Barayi will come. When I bought was challenging. Now, it is activism that made the world to appreciate that apartheid was a crime against humanity. It was an evil against humanity. It was not the theory that we wrote it and we said it. It was because actively we wanted to prove it. That program of action was defiance of apartheid laws. Now, if we get a station, kubhalwe net blankets, ufike uhlale. To net blankets, ufike uhlale. Yabo? Ngene ofisini, kuthiwe net frowens, uyindoda ungene. Yabo? You just make this thing unworkable and you make the country ungovernable. And society and the world noticed and declared apartheid as an evil against humanity. Now, when the NUM was formed, we're lucky to be part of that, part of the early formation of the NUM, young, angry, difficult, destructive, all of those things, but appreciated where we wanted to go. It was not just destruction, it was clear vision that inspired and bound us all into a direction. I don't know if Barayi forms the NUM and it spread. It becomes the biggest union You see. And my complaint, my grievance, Comrade Chingange, today you know my grievance, is that you can't have a COSATU that is a weak proletariat component. Because once you kill the proletariat component, it becomes an intelligentsia-dominated federation. And I submit to the federation, say, this federation, if you allow it to continue like that, it is not going to be red, it's going to be yellow. Because a federation must have a strong proletariat component. And that drove us into forming the biggest union in the federation, the National Union of Mineworkers. It was not great, it was the mighty NUM. Now, the mighty NUM. And the industry couldn't discuss and take decisions without us. If they do that, we disrupt those discussions. We disrupt the decisions consciously, deliberately, because the NUM was not involved. Now, I'm working in government. I have a branch of NAO there. They hardly disrupt my work. Hardly. Just come and demand something. And I must have some 10 minutes, 20 minutes with them. Say, no, comrade, this thing, wow, what kind of a working class is this that is so peaceful? I don't understand that. You know, where the problem, it is their efforts as working people, it is their effort as working people that forced the apartheid government to appoint the Vian Commission. So the Vian Commission, some of the worker leaders don't understand the Vian Commission, but it is that commission that legalized trade union movement for black South Africans. Yeah? And they didn't stop there. Once that report was accepted, they formed the National Union of Mineworkers. You see, Fion, because I'm handsome, people think that I'm young. I'm not young. I'm just handsome. Big difference. Now, when we formed the NUM, I went to the mines at a time when, with Matric, Hendrik, with Matric, I couldn't put my hand on a blasting certificate because a blasting certificate was reserved for a scheduled person. A scheduled person, President Shingange, was a white male. Then you would have your Matric, but a miner who's your supervisor will have standard 1 or standard 2. But is a scheduled person and therefore is in charge of the place. Yeah? And that's why, if you talk about the strike in 1987, which I will come to, that strike, many people don't understand it. They only remember it that it was big. There was the miners' strike, there was the railway strike, and there was the OK Bazaar strike. That combination shook the world. Now, that combination was not an accident of history. It was a deliberate program. And as that strike went on, among the demands was freedom in our lifetime. Yeah? An industry that was very conservative, version of apartheid mining, led by Barayi. We achieved a few things in that strike, companions. There are many, but I always talk about 3. A black person was allowed to have access to a blasting certificate. That was 87. That's why you will never find a mining engineer in South Africa who qualified before early between 90, because you can't be a mining engineer without a blasting certificate. Okay, to be a mining engineer, you must have a blasting certificate, and that right was acquired for blacks in the middle of a strike led by these great men. Okay. 2, women were not allowed in the mines. They were not employed there. There was a belief if you allow women underground, there will be rock falls. Just something that I don't know how does it work, but there was this belief that you can't allow women in the underground. There will be rock falls, and people will die. In that strike, we acquired the right of women to work in the mines. Eh? Today, more than 76,000 mine workers, Prof, are female today. Now, I'm reporting to Barayi now. You get my point? I'm reporting. And before that strike, black mine workers had no retirement fund. They worked like Gabile Mdala, Tangle overall, and campuses, and Escocosita, and they were changed. Good, thank you very much for your good service or good work. In that strike, we established retirement fund for black mine workers. Now, that changed the face of the industry. Now I'm talking about the leadership of Elijah Barayi. Leadership of Elijah Barayi. I'm not theorizing this, Panyas. I was the commander in the Highveld. Every colliery was out on strike there. Every colliery. If you're a strike breaker, sikubona ngezitho kasiye bathroom. Sibona ba sitheni sithola kuzimnyama. Wana sithola zimnyama singasebenzi uvene be coal dust. Siyakubona. We are going to be in big trouble. So kongamnimpukane pa. So as a strike to me changed the life. I don't know how many people remember that ENUM was not a SARChI-II project. All the trade union projects were in SARChI-II. The NUM was not a SARChI-II project, it was an ANC project because of the extent and the depth of repression in the sector. And therefore, people from the NUM accounted directly to the leadership of the African National Congress. That's why during unity talks, when COSA, because we're in COSA, which was a Black Consciousness Federation, when COSA pulled out of the unity talks, we told them that you can go if you want to continue with the unity talks, and we remained in the unity talks for the formation of COSATU. And Barayi was the first president. He was the founding deputy president of the NUM and the founding president of COSATU. Barayi law. That's why they said, ayingowenu. Nasipha yena ephila nathi nangu umuntu wenu mthatheni ngenye game we took him to Val Reefs kukwi-strike pa Guyana Stadium sigcwele bathi bathana nabasebenzi sabagxothozana get out hamba bamtshisa ngesigarethi apha entloko manje etshontsha la ntloko yakhe asibantshisa because dealing with crisis was not theory, it was practice. You must be there. You can't deal with the crisis without being there physically. Some of us, nobody, we minister higher education, and now, why deputy I'm got? People must remember that you're my deputy, you know. Now, one thing you will remember is that if there is a problem in the sector, you walk into the problem because reports will be polished. But if you go to the situation, you will understand it in details. So that he gave us to us. And then formation, the mobilizing program over 3 years culminated in the 1987 strike. Biggest strike in the sector, that shook the chamber. It's the biggest strike in the sector, that shook the chamber. So, black workers had complementary abilities in militancy, but one of the things I'm missing today, I want the president of COSATU con, as Johannes as a trade union goes kokaleyo. As the research, as analyze the funilak. Disclaimer kogepa kukula industry nditongana madod. Even if unilak azanibulala ongqoqa. Ongqoqa bazohleka nani bazanibulala na uphela fufu. Because capital doesn't play games with you. If you don't research your story, understand it in details, research as a number of your research, a detailed, way, ikunike background, ufike pha, uyibeke, ugcwele abafundileyo ngapha sisodwa thina siyibethe. Uba ngaba iqhubeka ukuthi kuphakamenye apha i-mine worker, ithethe into engavakali ithi must negotiate. And then we get a settlement. La we are disrupted, no, must negotiate, man. Must negotiate. That is Barayi for you. Now, COSATU is based on few principles, COSATU. And they've okuthethwa ngazo ngoku. One industry, one union. One country, one federation. Principles as the formation of Congress of Southern Trade Unions. Federation enkulu. See. Now, lo president wayo ngo-1985 upha ulwela i-freedom as he fight for workers' rights. You know, I don't know if you have noticed this. There was this big strike in 1987 of various sectors. Capital ran to meet the ANC in Dakar as a consequence. Nobody says that, nobody writes about that, but the capital so good in the Chile, as workers are militant and they will ban the industry, they ran to Dakar to talk to the ANC. The rest is history. And therefore, Comrade Shingang, if federation, I answer a favor by the ANC. Federation. No. It's part of the thing. If that thing is falling apart, I don't know what you say. COSATU can't be like a Pontius Pilate Islam you collapse land. Take responsibility. Here to Songeland. COSATU forced a capital. China, Dakar, Senegal, to talk to the ANC. Workers were ungovernable. They heed the call of the ANC of making the government, the country ungovernable and making apartheid unworkable. Workers. So, I'm coming close to the conclusion now. You'll notice that I'm not delivering a keynote address. I'm giving you a conversation about Elijah Barayi. I know him. I worked with him. If there is a strike and he play for Aipumanga, he wouldn't speak in a meeting. Because that was the pecking order. If you want to talk in the trade union meeting, you can't ignore a call for action. If you have not heeded the call for action, you're not going to speak in the meeting. Will disrupt you. Tell a deputy president, permitting abantu who have come out in the strike, who are in the battlefield. Not everybody. Ngibone ngokutena nabantu abangayanga si-May Day bayenze public holiday kube mandi. So, a right to strike looks small today because it is an acquired right. A right to collective bargaining looks small because it's an acquired right. You can list that those rights. Names as a right. You see, Yabana as a mine workers, it's in the law to refuse to enter a dangerous place. As sector, Sazamu crafter law. In the mining industry, it's in the Mining and Safety Act. Uguti, Mine workers have a right to refuse to enter a dangerous place. It's law. But we take it for granted because it's an acquired right, yeah? A right to equal pay for equal value of work. Yeah? Unemployment insurance benefit. So that is going to UIF. Mates, ndiyakrwaba ndinemali endinayo phaa ku-UIF kwamna. Yeah. Protest against unfair dismissal. My first job was in a mine, was in Western Deep Levels. After 6 months, I was fired. No hearing, nothing, taken from work at 10. At 2, I was told I'm fired. At 12, at 2, I was dropped in Park Station. And I went to Ghana. And that is one of the incidents in my life that made me committed to the trade union movement. I'm telling you now the secret. Because I knew no union, no right. When workers are not united and organized, they can't put pressure collectively on the employer. That's it. But Barayi Memorial is proud. Can I tell why he's proud? Only trade union leader who has produced 3 secretary generals of the ANC. 3 secretary generals of the ANC in succession. Ramaphosa, Mkande, Mantashe, succession. A large generation of mine workers, that's organized on Barayi. And all of them had a stint in the office of president. One elected for 2 terms, one was a president for 8 months, one was a president for 3 hours. So what is the point? So all I'm saying is that imisebenzi kaBarayi yezandla zakhe leyo. And yibona ikontinyiswa ke lonto ngoku. And the labor movement intervening. Asinaba ne-labor movement ecomplainayo singange. I-labor movement must temper with society and developments. Ibe khona. Xa siya conferencing, ufuna secretary general, there must be a trade unionist esicinga bona uba inga-right. I can tell you that in 2027, they will all want to be presidents, all of them. I've seen them. Oh, they want to be presidents, all of them. And yabacela mna ndimdala kaloku. Yabona xa somdala une-freedom of speech. Comrades, you are going to cause stampede in the conference of the ANC. You are going to cause stampede. Please select yourselves. But I don't see trade unionists emerging in that process. That's my grievance. Zippy trade unions. Where is the working class? Ipi working class? Yeah. Professor Khade. Working class ipi. Ibe khona apha. Ibe khona. And it should continue being part of history. Let me conclude by appealing to all of us to take collective responsibility to defend and advance ilegacy kaBarayi. How do we defend the ilegacy kaBarayi? Through fragmentation. You can only defend it through unity. Once we begin to move to different direction, party are contesting up, ANC are contesting up, we're fragmenting it. Ilegacy kaBarayi like something else, as he has been. Say, okay. As long as the influence direction fragmented. If you want to influence the direction, nifuna uba ne impact. Only formula is unity. Thank you very much.
Let's give the main speaker, Minister Mantashe, another big round of applause. Thank you very much, Minister Mantashe, for that umkhabulo that you have just given us. At the height of COVID in, I can't remember which year it was, you came here in the very same room and you gave us an account, a a similar account on the life of Moses Kotane. As a Kotanist yourself, on the national question and the National Democratic Revolution. Similar approach. Today we are back and you give us the account of Barayi and what is expected of us and what you think he would have felt about the developments in the country. Now to thank you, I'm not going to do the vote of thanks. My colleague, Professor Tregena, Sis Fiona, will do that. But before I call you, no, I think I'm going to call the choir just to thank you. Because I'm not going to introduce you, because if I do, I will embarrass you. You always get embarrassed when I mention that you are in the NEC of the Youth League, you're in the Central Committee. Okay, I'm going to go there. Let me not go there. Let's call the choir to thank our main speaker, and then immediately after that, Professor Tregena will come to do the vote of thanks.
Samba senhliziyo wethemba lami helele mafohloza lavi wetutu wami sandwa sami lavi wami mafohloza tali wami helele mafohloza kuba buhlungu inhliziyo wethemba lami uma ngicabangana nawe lavi wetutu wami sandwa sami lavi wami mafohloza tali wami helele mafohloza tali lavi sweetie waze wangiphatha kahle ulale sifubeni tali lavi sweetie waze wangiphatha kahle ulale sifubeni helele mama njengengane ncane
wangibamba kwamancane wangibambele
tutu sandwa sami
sakoli mama ezola
simela samsasezola helele mama njengengane ncane
wangibamba kwamancane wangibambele
tutu sandwa sami
sakoli mama ezola
simela samsasezola helele mama njengengane ncane love is sweetie love is sweetie wetutu wami sandwa sami lavi wami mafohloza tali wami helele mafohloza love is sweetie love is sweetie wetutu wami sandwa sami lavi wami mafohloza tali wami helele mafohloza. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, until we meet again.
Well, thank you to the wonderful UJ choir for bringing both a romantic touch and a spiritual touch to this event. I think it's a beautiful way of drawing it to a close. Mine is a simple task to give a quick vote of thanks and to wrap the event up. Minister Mantashe, Minister Nkosazana Meth, Minister Nkabane, DM Chavalala, Prema Lesufi, DP of COSATU, Comrade Mike, the family, and to all the dignitaries and participants here. Thank you for joining the event. I think it's been a wonderful event. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. I think it's a worthy successor, building on the success of last year's event, the inaugural Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture, where we had His Excellency President Ramaphosa. And I think it's been a wonderful second Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture. Of course, with Minister Mantashe, not just as a minister, not just even as a former General Secretary, as he mentioned, along with the President, as a former mine worker who's experienced those hostels, those feelings of being, as you said, fired in the morning and sent back in the afternoon. Those were the days before the mighty National Union of Mineworkers. So it's important to recognize the contributions of organized labor, of the organized working class, to the democracy that we enjoy today. And that's really, Minister Meth, in partnership with the department, I think the impetus behind this lecture, to recognize that contribution to those rights that we take for granted. It's easy to take rights for granted when you're enjoying them on a daily basis, but those rights were struggled for by the likes of Elijah Barayi, and a contribution that goes far beyond the workplace to the broader society. And this lecture series isn't just about putting that legacy in a historical museum and admiring it from a distance, but about that as a living legacy. So that's why through this lecture series, we also want to elevate and explore the links between those historical contributions and the ongoing struggles for living wages, for jobs, for dignity and democracy in the workplace, and for the broader transformation of society and the economy. So we are very happy as the University of Johannesburg to be partnering with the department, Minister Meth, in this. I think we're very happy with today's event. It's really been a wonderful lecture. Thank you again, Minister Mantashe. And it will be an ongoing event in May, Workers' Month. So please keep a lookout next May for the next, which will be the third Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tregena, for that way forward and direction in how we will be proceeding on this work that we've been doing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the second Elijah Barayi Memorial Lecture, which has been wonderful. And I think you must give yourself a round of applause. You have been a very good audience. We are now just one last announcement. There will be ushers there. We'd like you to please do join us for some light refreshments outside. There will be ushers who will be showing you where to go. But if we could just allow our guests to leave out first so that they do come back when we invite them. But thank you very much. Have a good day.